Hi folks, Sty again. Another Sty story. I had said 3-4 videos ago I was gonna film a bunch of Sty stories, get kind of caught up on them, so I've got something to post every couple of days or so. Um, I'm trying to get a pool of videos together so that I can post more often until my retirement. Now my retirement, now it looks like it's kind of carved in stone. My last day of employment will be April 6th, and I'm trying to get prepared between now and April 6th to head into spring just full bore. I'm going to get outdoors a lot. I've got some surprises coming, but I'm not going to touch that. I don't believe I'm going to touch that until April. I got some gear changes that I'm making that will make my getting out and about actually more comfortable and a lot easier for me. And I think you folks will enjoy some of the new improvements I'm making to my outdoor experience. But we'll get to that another day. On with this Sty story. This Sty story is called A Bad Boy Scout Breakfast. Now, you wouldn't think that there could be such a thing as a bad Boy Scout breakfast. And let me take a quick sip of good coffee first. Here's the scoop. Back in the winter of 1969, I was in the Boy Scouts. We had a cabin, huge log cabin, that was donated to our scout troop. That cabin sat out on an island. The island was maybe about, maybe a 3-acre island. And it was just a knob, big knob, sticking out of the lake, fully wooded, covered with hardwoods and pines, with this big log cabin sitting right on the top of that knob, looking all the way out around that lake. You walk around that cabin, you're looking around the whole lake. And the lake was probably about I'd say 25 to 35 acre lake, at least that big. Really nice lake, lots of fish in it, and it was not too far out of the Twin Cities in Minnesota, west of Minneapolis. That's typically all farm country. Well, this little lake was surrounded by 3 farms. So the lake was landlocked. And one of those farmers was a firm believer in the Boy Scouts. So he gave us access on his property to be able to get to the lake to get out to our cabin. Now, we rarely went out there in the summer, oddly enough. Why, I don't know. All the years I was in Scouts, I thought, yeah, we got to go out there in the summer. But we'd go out there for day hikes, and then we'd paddle canoes out there, and we'd eat a lunch or something, and then we'd paddle our canoes back and load them on the vehicles and go home for the day. But in the winter, we would do a 4-day stay out at the cabin. And our scoutmaster would take the whole troop out there, right? Well, our assistant scoutmaster had moved to a different state, so we were without an assistant scoutmaster. So he brought on a new assistant scoutmaster that none of us really knew. And his first real outing with us was out to that cabin for those 4 days in the middle of the winter. It was tough getting out there. We were pulling toboggans full of gear. I mean, all of our gear and all of our food. We had to carry our water in, everything. So here's the whole troop, which was about, our big old troop, which was about 18 boys, right? About 18 of us. And we're pulling these toboggans out there. Well, that cabin was big enough, and it had enough bunk beds in it that it would hold 24 scouts, plus it had 2 small little bedrooms for the scoutmaster and the assistant scoutmaster. Plus it had a kitchen area, and in the center of the cabin was 2 huge tables with benches, and on the one end, a big, huge fieldstone fireplace with the wrought iron pot hangers and stuff. Awesome, awesome. And in the kitchen, it had an old-fashioned wood-burning cook stove. Well, we get out there, and we headed out early in the morning, so during the day, we're just having a blast. It's setup day. We're all fighting over whose bunk is whose, and we're getting all of our gear put away, getting everything put in the kitchen, and we're all excited because all the refrigerated stuff, we can just sit outside because it's winter, and as we're unpacking, we didn't know what the scoutmaster had gotten us for food for those 4 days. While we're unpacking, we're seeing pork sausages and bacon, packs of hamburger, packs of hot dogs. We're thinking, hey, we're going to eat pretty good. There's some good food in here. So we're all excited. Well, supper that night was some kind of goulash, hot dish kind of thing that the scoutmaster made. Tasted great. Definitely something the boys would eat. Lots of pasta and gravy and stuff in it. So we're gonna eat that. First night went really good. Everybody seemed to settle in really good. That hike out there and all the work put into it. We were tired, slept good. But boy, did it get cold in there overnight. It seemed that nobody was smart enough to assign someone, or several someones, to tend fire, to keep that fireplace going and keep the temperature at least comfortable. Even if it was just 45 degrees in there, or 50 degrees, it would have been comfortable compared to waking up in the morning and it's only about 10 above. Well, so in the morning, a few of us scrambled out of our bunks and we scrambled, got a fire going in the fireplace. Then we headed for the kitchen. We got a fire going in the wood stove in the kitchen. And it wasn't long, and it was 65 degrees in that big cabin. Then everybody's shaking it out. Oh, it's nice, so we'll get up now. And of course, I'm hungry. What's for breakfast? Well, the scoutmaster said our new assistant scoutmaster is in charge of breakfast. He's going to make you boys a breakfast you will never forget. Little did he know. That's a breakfast I'll never forget. Even after I'm dead and gone, I ain't forgetting that breakfast. I was not on KP. There's no way they wanted me in the kitchen for some reason. I did this, send Sty out for firewood, but make sure he tends the fire, blah, 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 blah. Don't let him near the food. Their mistake, not my fault. It's their fault. It was their mistake. They should put me in charge of the kitchen. Well, I was outside busy splitting firewood. And then I hear him yelling, breakfast is ready, breakfast is ready. Well, I'm starved. I've been working. Everybody else been staying warm in the cabin. Me and two other boys, we were on firewood duty. And so we were working our tails off. So we come running in, we're ready for breakfast. The scoutmaster was the only one that truly appreciated us guys making sure there's enough firewood to get us through those 4 days. He says, those 3 have been working their tails off. They get to serve up and eat first. We were thrilled. Run to the kitchen. There's the assistant scoutmaster. And he says, you boys get to eat first? And we said, yep. Scoutmaster said we earned it. He says, okay. He says, here's your plates. He gives us these blue porcelain metal plates. And I'm looking at the pancakes. And they're awful thin. Very thin. And they're pale. Real pale. Almost white. I said, pancakes didn't turn out very fluffy. And he says, I don't know what it is with the pancake mix. He says, I just could not get it for some reason heavy enough to get the pancakes fluffy enough. He said, but I'm sure they'll be fine. He says, they're just not the thick, fat pancakes we're used to. He says, take extra. There's lots of them. So I put a half a dozen of them thin pancakes on my plate. And there's the link sausage on the wood stove. Burnt. Black burnt. I thought, okay, so they're like little pieces of kindling. And they're crunchy all the way through. So I threw a few of those on my plate, and I thought, I'll just smother them in syrup. They'll be fine. So we get out to the table, and the 3 of us are sitting at the table, and the rest of the boys are starting to head to the kitchen. And we're looking around, and I go, where's the syrup? We don't have any syrup. So I yelled out, where is the syrup? The assistant scoutmaster come out of the kitchen. He goes, we're warming it up in the fireplace. So go get a bottle out of the fireplace. Well, there's a bunch of boys standing in front of the fireplace in a line to the kitchen. And all of a sudden we hear pow, 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 pow. And boys are running and screaming. The place went into total chaos. Here that assistant scoutmaster had set those glass bottles of syrup in the coals in the fireplace with the lids on tight. And they were exploding in the fireplace. There was a half a dozen kids just showered in hot syrup. Their clothes, their hair, they're just all sticky and covered with syrup. There are no showers out there. And the water's for drinking. Well, after everything calms down and the 3 of us are thinking, well, man, our food's cold, getting cold, and it's starting to calm down. And I went over, I was poking around the fireplace, and there's 3 bottles of syrup. Just 3. Now, they had 12. There were only 3 that survived. That means 9 bottles of syrup blew up. Those 3 bottles were off on the side, and I managed to get a hold of them. And I was scared to death, too. And I got them over to the table and set them down, and we carefully cracked the caps on them, and they didn't explode. We got syrup. All 3 of us grabbed a bottle each and started smothering our food with syrup, hot syrup, because our food's cold now, so to put that hot syrup on it. I cut out a big wad of them thin little pancakes, stuck them in my mouth. I spit it all right in my buddy's face across the table. Spit it all right in his face. I couldn't believe it. And he's screaming, he's mad because I spit on him. I said, no, I didn't mean to. I couldn't help it. He said, taste your pancakes. But face away from me because you're going to spit. He took not a big mouthful like I did. He took a small piece of pancake, stuck it in his mouth, chewed it for about 2 seconds, and he's spitting it out in his plate. The 3rd kid said, whatever's wrong with him, I don't even want to try it. We said, you have to try it. So he tried a little bit. Same thing. He spit it out, but he got up and he ran out the door because he threw up outside. I went in the kitchen. I said, "Don't eat the pancakes. Don't anybody eat the pancakes. Don't touch them. Don't eat them. There's something terribly, terribly wrong with the pancakes." And that new assistant scoutmaster said, "Hey, come on, I don't make that bad of pancakes. They can't be that bad." And he grabbed this box off of this shelf that was by the wood stove. He grabbed this box and he said, "If you want to blame somebody, blame the company that made this pancake mix." He says, "It's not my fault. No matter how much of this mix I put in, it seemed to never get to be a heavy batter like it's supposed to be." And he's standing there shaking that box at me, and I'm looking at one. And I go, "But hey, that says powdered milk on it." He turned that box around and looked at the front of the dang box. And he goes, "Oh, I got the wrong box." And he's looking up there. And there's like, 8 boxes up on that shelf. And they're big. They're big boxes. But there's 4 empties laying on the floor next to the wood stove. I go, "You used the powdered milk for pancake batter." I went around the corner, and the kitchen was kind of L-shaped. I went around the corner, and there's another, like a pantry area. And I looked, and there's 12 big boxes of Aunt Jemima pancake mix. I said, "There's the pancake mix. You made pancakes with powdered milk instead of pancake mix. You're trying to kill us. And then you weren't sure that would take us all out, so you tried to bomb us with all the blown up syrup in the fireplace." Scoutmaster grabbed me and pulled me away, and he says, "That's enough. That's enough. Don't talk to him that way. He's your assistant scoutmaster." And he kept pulling me, and I thought, he's taking me outside. What's he going to do? Give me the switch or something? He gets outside, closes the door, and he bursts out laughing. He pat me on the shoulders. He says, "Kid, you're right. He's trying to kill you." He says, "That ain't no good." He says, "I think we're going to find another assistant scoutmaster," because he says, I hate to admit it, son, but he says, "That fella isn't too bright." He's not the brightest crayon in the box. So our breakfast turned out to be a bad Boy Scout breakfast. Everybody sat around, and we poured all that syrup into a couple of pie tins, and all of us sat around with all the burnt sausages, dipping them in that syrup, and ate all those burnt sausages for breakfast. But you know, as bad of a breakfast that was, it turned out to be a pretty sweet stye story. I don't think that guy, they didn't get rid of him. He left. And when I say he left, we were there for 4 days. On the 3rd day, we couldn't find the assistant scoutmaster. We looked all over, couldn't find him. Our scoutmaster actually sent us out in groups of 3, and we all went searching for him. We thought, well, maybe he took somebody out hiking or something, but we did a head count. Everybody's there, just not him. So we went out looking for his tracks, you know. And me and my 2 buddies that helped me with the firewood, we come on his tracks. We realized the trail coming in, nobody had gone out. We just came in. There was toboggan marks heading the wrong direction and footprints heading the wrong direction. So we went back to the cabin, did a count on the number of toboggans, and if I recall, we had 8, but there was only 7 at the cabin. I went inside, and I was just going to tell the scoutmaster. He skipped, and he took a toboggan with him. The scoutmaster's holding up a piece of paper, and he says he left this in his bedroom, and it's a note, and his gear is gone. "Thank you for the opportunity," he says, "but I will no longer be your assistant scoutmaster, and the best of luck to you and most of the boys." Most of the boys, I think he was excluding me. He didn't like me because I called him on the powdered milk pancakes and the grenade syrup. But there you go. There's a Sty story. Thanks, guys. This one's a little longer than usual, but it is what it is. Thanks again. Hey, as always, you all have a very, very nice day. Bye-bye.